From a radio to a robot, the idea of the machine is a metacognition about escapism regarding existence. Comfort is the enemy of progress, and progress is the enemy of perfection. We, the people, blindly follow these rules and then impulsively design machines to do the same. History is filled with these repeating philosophies that we never utterly understand until it is too late. This is that story, for when it's too late. By the year 2182, humanity had resolved the greatest threat to mankind, overpopulation. A global governing agency by the name of SSL had come up with a plan to transport everyone from Earth to another Earth-like planet 10 light years away, named Kepler. Over the next 30 years, SSL forced public and private schools to focus students' learning on engineering, mathematics, and physics. So when the students graduated, they would easily be able to enter the only work there was, building spaceships to transport people to Kepler. SSL had to make hundreds of thousands of these spaceships, and the future generation was the perfect workforce. Dave McDavid was one of these students, the top of his class. He left high school with a girlfriend named Karen and hundreds of notebooks, from school literally filled to the brim with notes and sketches of certain parts of these spaceships. He left with a philosophy that would loop in his head for the rest of his life. Don't let people think you're stupid. And a fear of being put out of touch. When he graduated, he was placed in the manufacturing facilities, placing one metal tube into one place on ship after ship after ship. For most people, this was the only work there was. Each ship could hold up to 2 million pounds, or about 10,000 people. That means to get all 18 billion people off-world, they would need 1,800,000 ships. And McDavid sat in a factory, placing a metal tube in each one. After a couple years of mind-numbing factory work, McDavid and Karen got married and had 2 kids, Zoe and Savannah. At the time, McDavid was about 5 feet, 8 inches, not tall but not short either. He had short brown hair and a black and white tattoo of a cross with a snake curling around it on his left arm that he got the day after he graduated high school. With this type of factory work, it wasn't hard to get a promotion. Yet McDavid jumped on any promotion he could get as if it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But the promotions had their cost. The higher you climb up that corporate ladder, the more you get promoted, the more time you would have to spend on Earth. Overpopulated, air-polluted, garbage-littered Earth. Before the promotions, McDavid probably had a year before he and his family could take off on one of those ships and leave Earth and travel to Kepler. Now, over a decade before he and his family could leave. But McDavid didn't mind. At the end of the day, he was implementing his inner philosophy, not letting people think he was stupid. And at the end of the day, that was all that mattered. With the time of his departure off this earth less than a day away, McDavid found himself waiting outside in a short line all by himself. He spent his last night on Earth all by himself in a short line. The line led to an ice cream truck. It was dark out, the only light illuminating from the ice cream truck's glowing sign and the few streetlights that hadn't already been broken. Trash littered the ground, there were cracks in the road and the sidewalk, and dead grass spread through the yard that surrounded the road. There were people in front of McDavid and behind him, but not his family. He moved up a spot. He looked over to his girls, his wife and 2 daughters, sitting in the car, talking and laughing. McDavid was just staring at them. It was his idea to get ice cream. Their last night on Earth, and all McDavid wanted to do was connect with his 2 daughters. He always felt distant from them, especially in these last few years while they were in high school. His time and energy were split between his family and his work. At least that's what he thought. However, they thought differently. In the car, the dimly lit dome light on the ceiling of the car gave the girls enough light to see each other and chat about almost anything. They kept glancing at McDavid, then giggling.
So, Mom, are we actually going to do it?
Zoe, one of the daughters, asked.
I think so.
Karen, McDavid's wife, giggled.
I got the letter ready. Because of all the missing people, the ship's insurance policy is offering $1 million to any family with a missing person. That means we get to go to Kepler. We're going to be rich. I'm just not sure if we'll be able to pull it off.
This is going to be so nice!
Savannah, McDavid's other daughter, added.
Finally, we'll have some peace!
McDavid finally made it to the front of the ice cream line. The ice cream parlor was pretty worn down, but that was what happened when it was one of the last in the world.
How much ice cream do you have left?
McDavid asked in a hurry.
Yes, vanilla.
She spoke in a rough, masculine-sounding voice. The ice cream lady had a tuft of white and gray pointed hair on the top of her head. She wore a maroon sweater and black horn-rimmed glasses with supporting chains.
I'll take 4 cones.
McDavid said swiftly. He looked back at his car to see his family still laughing.
Alright.
She spoke slowly, and her words were drawn out. She turned around and made the cones. McDavid looked back into his car, wondering what they could be talking about. What they might be laughing about. The ice cream lady came out with the tray holding the cones.
Here you go,
she said.
Thanks.
McDavid grabbed the tray with one hand and threw cash at her with the other, all without looking. He started power walking to his car, his urgency amplified like a crescendo with each step. Zoe spotted him, then chuckled and pointed him out to her mom and sister. They all looked at him as he got closer, picking up his pace. He bounced from idea to idea, worrying about what they might be laughing at, who they might be laughing at. McDavid finally made it to the car, swung the door open, and hopped into his seat promptly. His family all jolted face forward, and the laughing stopped immediately. Savannah was great at hiding her laugh, but Zoe wasn't. Zoe stopped laughing, but her smile stayed. McDavid put his seatbelt on, despite the fact that they weren't going anywhere. He had the ice cream tray in his lap and handed one to his wife, who was sitting in the passenger seat right next to him. He looked through the rearview mirror and saw Zoe's smirk.
What was so funny?
McDavid asked in a calm but interrogating tone. Zoe scoffed.
Nothing.
She lied as McDavid passed the ice cream back to the two of them.
Really? Nothing?
McDavid doubted, looking at the two of them through the rearview mirror, suspicious of their lies.
So who's ready for tomorrow?
Karen asked, quickly trying to change the subject.
I'm a little scared.
Savannah said.
Don't be.
McDavid shot back harshly.
It was made by your old man after all.
He calmed down a little. The car went silent again. The only noise was the rumble of the engine and the hum of the dome light illuminating the speechless vehicle. McDavid wasn't happy. He wanted to talk and laugh with his kids, but once he got there, all that joy seemed to vanish. He looked through the rearview mirror and saw Zoe still smiling. They made eye contact, and Zoe let out a nervous chuckle.
Hey!
McDavid barked as he turned into his seat to face Zoe. Her smile faded.
What did we talk about?
McDavid shouted. Karen and Savannah stayed still as stone, facing forward. They knew not to engage with McDavid when he was in one of his tantrums. Zoe didn't say a word. She just groaned. So McDavid had to raise his voice again.
What did we
He calmed down just a little.
talk about?
Zoe finally gave in.
Respect.
She said softly.
That's right. Respect!
McDavid paused for a brief second.
Now you are going to apologize to Karen.
McDavid demanded. Zoe took a deep breath.
I'm sorry, Mom.
Okay, geez, really?
Karen said.
No!
McDavid interrupted.
It's not okay. Nothing about her behavior is okay.
He sat back up and faced forward.
All I wanted was have a nice evening with my family.
He rolled down his window.
And I can't even get that.
He shouted as he threw the rest of his cone out of the window and rolled it up again. Savannah looked over at Zoe to see a tear falling down her cheeks and her jaw shaking, trying not to let out a cry. That image was enough for Savannah to shed a tear as well. Everyone ate their ice cream in silence. The car ride home was silent. Not a single word was ever spoken in that car again. When they got home, McDavid's two daughters immediately went into their rooms, and Karen immediately went to bed. By the time McDavid was done with his shower, it seemed like everyone was asleep. The sound of repeating beeps woke McDavid from his slumber. He sat up, turned his alarm clock off, and turned his lamp on. McDavid, still in bed, looked around his dark room. He saw his dresser, the bathroom door, and the regular door. As he continued to look around, he saw his TV mounted to the wall and the windows that showed the darkness of the morning. And finally, he made his way to his wife, Karen. She was partially awake, looking at him with both a paranoid and creepy expression. No words were exchanged, just smiles. McDavid wanted to say,
I'll see you soon.
but instead said nothing. He just got up and got ready for his day. He looked back at his wife as he was about to leave the room. Karen was sitting up in the bed, looking down at her sheets that covered her. She leaned over to turn on the lamp that sat on her nightstand, chuckled to herself, and shook her head. Finally, she looked up at him.
You know, ever since we met in high school, I knew you were the one for me. I don't know how. It was just this gut feeling that I had. I knew you were the one I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. You.
She chuckled.
Arrogant, ignorant you.
McDavid furrowed his brow.
It's ironic, isn't it?
Karen continued.
How you were born just a couple of years after humanity had figured it all out? Overpopulation. Global warming. Ironic how your whole life has been pre-planned for you, yet you still managed to drown your whole family in this plant spill. You know, I was furious when you got promoted. All you had to do was play your part in manufacturing those ships and stay in your lane.
Karen paused for a moment, recollecting her thoughts and shaking her head.
But no, your arrogance got you in the way.
McDavid was about to say something when Karen cut him off.
I can't let these people think I'm stupid.
Karen mocked. She knew that was what McDavid was going to say.
A simple factory worker.
Karen continued as McDavid stayed quiet.
Thought the amount of notes you took in high school was bad, but now after one promotion that number has nearly doubled. Dave, you fill all these notebooks with lead and leave your family with what?
How about better lives, Karen?
McDavid finally blurted, trying to keep his voice down for his kid sleeping in the room across the hall.
Huh? Because of my promotion, not only do we live better lives, we finally have a good, steady income. You call me arrogant. I did this for you.
Oh, don't you even get started with that bullshit, Dave. We all know this was for you. You wanted us to have better lives. You would have kept your job as a factory worker for one more year. We would have stayed off in this dying rock to a new planet. With a new start. The kids would have grown up with clean air and blue sky. Paradise is what they were calling it compared to Earth. Fresh start. You robbed that from us. Because of that promotion, you kept that freedom from us for 10 years. Like we were prisoners in a jail cell. Dangling hope just out of reach. You robbed me of my fresh start. You robbed Zoe and Savannah of normal lives. They had to grow up in this dumpster fire because of you. They had to get taught the same bullshit we had when we were kids because of you. Did it even occur to you what you do affects us, Dave?
I did this for us, Aaron. 10 years sacrifice so the rest of our lives can be as perfect as possible.
Karen chuckled.
What?
Karen shook her head.
Funny. I should have seen it. You should have seen it. Both of us were blinded by your pride.
Karen stopped herself from saying more. She never lashed out like this. She was always furious at McDavid for making her kids grow up on this decaying rock, and she always blamed that on McDavid. McDavid never knew of Karen's fury.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be mad.
Karen said.
After all, it was your dream. Seemingly your only hope to let people think you, Dave McDavid, are not stupid. I should be happy, because in your fucked up mind, being promoted and staying on Earth for an extra decade must have been the only way to fulfill that dream of yours, huh? And as that decade passed, and as our kids grew up, and your career grew, and as you spend less and less time with our kids, with your kids,
Karen nodded.
something inside of me grew through that decade as well. Yes, as the years passed, I got angrier and angrier with you.
Karen leaned up in her seat.
But as that decade passed, I got better and better at playing the anchor.
Karen turned the lights off on her nightstand and fell back asleep. McDavid sighed. He went out of his room and approached Zoe's room across the hall. He just stood outside it, wondering if he should knock, if he should apologize. But he heard her snore, so McDavid let out a sigh and decided to leave her alone. He got into his car and made his way to work. The sound of constant beeping woke Karen from her snooze a few hours later. It was just her, alone in a queen-size bed. She knew McDavid was at work, but she was still sad. She couldn't help herself. She looked out her window to see the orange-tinted air that fogged and polluted the earth. Today was supposed to be the day that would change everything. It was finally their turn to leave Earth. They were part of the last ship to the New World, and she didn't know if she could do it. Not going to the New World, but leaving him behind. She got out of bed, took a shower, and put on some clothes. She jaunted out of her room and opened Zoe and Savannah's bedroom door. The creaks of the door weren't enough to wake them up, but Karen's demanding voice was.
Time to wake up.
She declared, clapping multiple times.
Come on, get up. We gotta go in an hour.
The girls groaned.
Ah!
Karen made her way downstairs and into the kitchen. She opened the pantry, turned on the stove, and made some pancakes. Once the pancakes were done, Zoe and Savannah strolled downstairs, looking like zombies because of how tired they were. Karen put the plates onto the table. The kids sat down in the dining room. Zoe barely touched her food.
Never again.
Karen said, looking down at Zoe. Zoe looked up.
Never?
Never.
Karen held up a piece of paper with writing on it. Zoe could barely make out what the paper said, but that didn't matter to her as long as her mother kept her promise. Never again, Zoe thought to herself. She smiled and finally started eating her breakfast. After finishing their breakfast, Karen grabbed all of their plates and threw them into their sink. Their sink was overflowing with dishes, but that didn't bother them, because today was the last day they would ever see that sink. And they knew it. They were scheduled to board the final flight off Earth in 30 minutes. The trip of a lifetime. After they left, no one was coming back to Earth. Earth, at that point, would be too far gone. The air would become toxic and the water would become even more polluted than it already was. The only people left on Earth would be the select few who willingly chose to stay behind. Karen, Zoe, and Savannah had brought their bags weeks earlier, so all they had to do was arrive on the ship that would take them to the stars, and that was exactly what they did. McDavid, on the outside, was a simple man. McDavid was not a man of philosophy, but of science. Some say philosophy was a science, but not McDavid. McDavid was a husband and a father. He was still skinny, and after a decade of working out, he had rock-hard abs and mighty arms and legs. His black and white tattoo of a cross with a snake curling around it still inked his left arm. He had a small but puffy white and gray mustache, and slick short hair that was also a mix of white and gray. He was an engineer who helped build Anastasia 4.0. A ship that would single-handedly save the human race by taking them 10 light years away to the planet Kepler. McDavid was stationed on Earth, meaning he and his family would have to stay on Earth until the very last trip, which just so happened to be leaving today. With the last of the humans boarding the ship, McDavid was left running last-minute checkups outside the ship. His family, on the other hand, made their way on board. From where McDavid was knelt down, it would take him about 5 minutes to get back onto the ship safely. And with his family on board, he was taking extra time to make sure everything was exactly as it should be. An orange tint crowded the air as McDavid looked up at the gigantic ship that would take him away. Looking at the ship always amazed him, the scale of the ship in particular. Taller than any building or skyscraper and wider than the pyramids, he was amazed because he helped build that ship. He helped save the world. Back on the ship, McDavid's wife looked out the window to look for McDavid. They saw each other. McDavid waved and Karen gave a forced smile back. That smile hid what part of her dreaded having to do. But the thing that shocked her was the part of her wanted to do it. A man in the dark blue uniform approached her from behind.
Hey, Karen.
Karen jumped in fright.
Is McDavid back yet? He doesn't usually take this long.
The man stated in a polite manner.
Hey.
She looked out the window through the corner of her eye. She saw McDavid turning something, she couldn't make out what, in a box outside. From Karen's perspective, the box mostly covered McDavid. She turned around to face the man.
Yes.
She lied, trying to use her body to block the window.
He is on board. He really had to use the bathroom, and he asked me to tell someone on the crew he was back. You're on the crew, right?
Karen flirted. Guilt built up inside her, but she was strong enough to not show it, leading to the man suspecting nothing.
Yes, I am. Thank you. We will take off right away.
The man said, delighted. Then he simply walked off.
Is he coming with us?
Zoe asked, covered in a blanket in the corner of the ship, rocking herself back and forth. Karen looked at her as the rumble of the engines violently shook the ship.
Never.
Zoe stopped, rocking herself back and forth, let out a deep sigh, and smiled. McDavid heard the engine started. He dropped all his stuff and immediately jetted towards the ship as it took off, like a plane lifting off a runway. The force of the engine's flames pushed him back, making him unable to get any closer. Yet, regardless of this conundrum, he tried his hardest to push forward. The ship let out another roar, letting the flames crescendo and kicking McDavid off his feet and slamming him into the ground, creating a loud thud. McDavid picked himself back up as the ship started to ascend. The smell of gasoline crowded the air. McDavid shouted and screamed. He waved his arms in the air but slowly gave up as he realized what just happened. McDavid fell to his knees, now just a motionless corpse, staring at the ship as it slowly shrank into the stars above. He stayed motionless until the ship was the size of a star. A tear trickled down his cheek, but he was not sad. He felt nothing. Explosions and gunshots went off in the distance, Those were the ones who chose to stay behind. He felt nothing. He did nothing. He stayed on his knees in pain for over an hour, just staring up in the stars that rested in the endless sky, a blanket of stars that stretched to infinity. It took him a while, but he finally chose to get up. He ambled into the parking lot and sauntered inside his car. He sighed. He gripped his hands onto the steering wheel even though the car wasn't turned on. He leaned back in his chair, then suddenly jolted forward, bashing his head against the middle of the steering wheel, causing the car to let out an excruciating honk, honk, honk. McDavid started breathing heavily. He gripped the top of his head, rocking himself furiously back and forth. McDavid started screaming, snot and tears rolling down his face. He started bashing the steering wheel with the palm of his hand, stomping his feet on the floor of the car. He let out another vigorous scream that was followed by a strange calm. He slowed his breathing and emitted a foul sigh. He put the keys in the car and drove out of the packed parking lot onto the interstate. McDavid saw car after car pulled over onto the curb, abandoned, left there to rust and rot. No one drove on this interstate except for McDavid, who was still going the speed limit. He knew if he drove fast, no one would stop him. Hell, the people that stayed behind would probably encourage it, but that didn't matter to McDavid. Nothing did. He saw a car approach him on the other side of the highway. The car was getting closer and closer to him, and the vroom from the car was getting louder and louder until it passed him. It was like McDavid wasn't even there. As he got off the highway, more and more cars started whooshing past him. People were hanging out of their windows, holding AKs. They waved them around like children mindlessly playing with a toy. McDavid just ignored these people. He drove by looters, looting stores and destroying cars. There were broken windows, closed stores, and trash engulfed the ground. The looters tore open the tops of abandoned cars and started fires inside them. From afar, it looked like the city was in the middle of a war. McDavid just continued to ignore these people as he drove by. Normally, he would yell at these people, try and strike some order into the chaos, but not this time. The only thought wandering in his mind was why? Why was it about the looters? How could they leave me behind, he thought. Why? He got to his house and pulled into the driveway. Lots of looters saw him driving home, but to McDavid's knowledge, no one cared, and nor did he. McDavid ambled into his house and wandered his way to the kitchen. He threw his keys on the counter as he turned his head. He saw an obnoxious number of his old notebooks stacked on top of one another in the dining room. He didn't leave them like this, so he walked over to the notebooks, and as he got closer, a note was revealed to be lying on top of them. He picked it up. It was from Karen. He read the letter.
Dear Dave, if you're reading this, that means you were left behind. I'm sorry. You might not think so, but I promise I am. Kepler is a fresh start, and I don't want me or my kids to have a husband and a father who loves his precise notebooks more than his own family. Dave, he chose this path, but this is on you. I'm sorry, Dave, but you must learn the way that you treated people in the past will affect them in the future.
There was more to the letter, but he didn't read it. For the first time since his family left him a couple of hours ago, McDavid felt something. He had a brief feeling of vexation. He threw his fist through the notebook tower, and they came crumbling to the ground.
Dagnabbit!
His screams dragged out the word as he collapsed onto the floor. He screamed, with spit flying out his mouth. His hands were on his head, clenching his hair as he rolled back and forth on the ground. He finally caught his breath. A boisterous clatter came from outside, brought McDavid out of his panic. Maybe it was just the wind, he thought, although he wasn't sure. Out of the corner of his eye, a shadow shot past the window. He turned his head. McDavid caught it in the side of his eye. Multiple other shadows zipping past the closer window. He got up, turned his head back and forth, checking the windows. He didn't see anything. He kept backing up until bonk. He got smacked on the back of his head by one of the shadows and managed to get into his house. McDavid tumbled to the floor, as if every muscle in his body decided to give out. More shadows started to surround him. They grabbed rope and tied him up. McDavid woke from his KO with a brown bag over his head. It was one of those potato bags that were really easy to see through, even though the whole point of the bag was so you couldn't see through them. Anyways, McDavid was being dragged down a red carpet with white tile on each side. Pillars of quartz stood on the white tile and held up this building. Ahead of McDavid was a giant gold-colored seat with a big round man on top of it. The man lay in his chair, one leg on the arm of the chair and one leg dangling normally. He wasn't looking at McDavid, who was still being dragged towards this man, but the man was looking at a toy crown he was holding in his hands. The round man saw it in wonder. The size of the crown indicated it might be for a 6-year-old, not a 36-year-old. But that didn't amaze him. What did was how real it looked, at least compared to the movies he had seen years ago. As McDavid got dragged closer to the man on the throne, the man's attention drew towards McDavid. McDavid was brought to a halt and pushed down onto his knees. The man on the throne sat up straight and signaled to the people dragging McDavid to remove his potato bag. McDavid finally spoke, as if the bag was making him unable to communicate.
Who the?
Silence, ignorant one.
The man cut McDavid off, and his voice echoed through the room. Sitting up straight revealed more of his outfit. He wore brown, puffy pants and a bright yellow shirt. On the back, he had a big red cape with a fluffy white outline. There was one person on the left and right of McDavid, the people who dragged him here. They looked the same as Lord Doris, but with a red shirt and without the cape. The people on either side of McDavid acted like royal guards, with their posture and their heads pointed straight forward.
Excuse?
Do not speak unless spoken to, ignorant one.
He said, his voice full of animosity.
Are you one of the people who made the massive flying people stealer?
He paused for a moment, seeing if McDavid would speak, but he didn't.
He is learning. Good. You may speak, ignorant one.
McDavid immediately blurted.
Ignorant one? No, my name is McDavid, with a D.
How else would you spell it?
The man interrupted again.
Also, my name is Lord Preston Doris, but you may call me Lord Doris for short.
For the love of God, would you?
Do not speak unless I deem it so.
Lord Doris interrupted, punctuating each word. Lord Doris was hostile in his interruption, but calm in his delivery.
Now answer the question, ignorant, with a D.
It's McDavid, with a D. And it's called the ship, for your information, not a people stealer. How's he even stealing people, huh? Golly, you are stupid.
McDavid talked in such a fast and obnoxious tone that it was physically hurting to hear.
Answer the question.
Lord Doris commanded, waving a finger in the air. His voice echoed through the room. The words bounced around in McDavid's head.
Yes.
McDavid said dully. His mind wandered to his wife.
Yeah, I helped make it. I bet your next question is...
My next question.
Lord Doris said, still waving his finger.
Will it come back?
The ship?
The people stealer, you mean? Yes. Will the people stealer come back?
I can't tell if you're serious.
McDavid grew a grin.
Stop testing my patience, boy. Answer my question.
Lord Doris's calm tone turned hostile as he leaned forward out of his throne.
That was the last trip.
McDavid stated meaninglessly.
No one is ever coming back here. This planet has been abandoned, left to die, and we are here to slowly die with it. I was supposed to leave, but...
He thought about how to phrase his next sentence, if he should include the part about his own family abandoning him.
I was left behind.
So no one is coming back to Earth?
Lord Doris asked, with a look of confusion on his face.
No one.
Lord Doris's confused expression turned to a simple grin.
Wait.
Good?
Thank you, sir, the ignorant. You may be released with the rest of them.
The rest of them?
McDavid was ignored. Lord Doris lay back in his seat, started to fidget with the small crown, and signaled to his guards to drag McDavid away.
The rest of who?
McDavid blurted, but Lord Doris ignored him as the guards dragged McDavid out of the building. McDavid's knees scraped against the floor before he could pick himself up and walked at the pace of the guards were.
The rest of who?
He shouted one last time. He turned his head towards one of the guards, dragging him.
He can hear me, right? Like, I know you can hear me. The rest of who? Who is he talking about?
The guards stayed facing forward.
Will anybody listen to me?
McDavid pleaded one last time before being brought to the two giant front doors. The guards opened two giant doors at the end of the hallway. The first thing McDavid saw when the doors opened was the stairs leading down to the street, and hundreds of people coming from the sides of the stairs, running and screaming away from the building. The people flowed like a rushing river, making its way down a stream. Heavy dark clouds flooded the skies. Winds rushed against the trees on the side of the street, swaying them from side to side. The trees tapped the small buildings next to them. The guards threw McDavid out of the building, and he rolled down the stairs. A loud boom echoed through the town as the guards slammed the door shut. McDavid looked at the door towering over him. Then he looked up more to see the whole building. What he thought to be a big building turned out to be a palace. McDavid turned towards the people, running from the building. So many questions zipped through his mind. He stumbled up onto his feet and looked back at the palace. The doors were still shut. Rain started to pour down on him as he kept his gaze on the palace door for a few moments longer. He turned back and saw the river of people frantically trying to make their way downstream. He saw no other choice but to join them, so that's what he did. They just kept running. McDavid tried to ask people what was going on, but they all ignored him. Some said,
Well, I can't talk right now.
and,
We'll still have time.
but they never clarified. McDavid stopped running. He let the people rush past him like he didn't even exist. Why was he running? Why was he trying? Someone bumped into him.
Excuse you.
McDavid muttered. The man stopped. So did the people around McDavid. The man turned around and went back to McDavid. He grabbed both of McDavid's arms and shook him while asking.
Did the ship already leave?
The man was short, almost as tall as an 8-year-old. The pitch of his voice might have suggested he was an 8-year-old.
Do you know if the ship left?
Even though he sounded like an 8-year-old, his voice was still smooth and calm. It conveyed both confidence and intimacy. McDavid looked at him bearing. The kid wore an all-black suit with a white tie. He had a black fedora with the slim white strips going up and down it. He was white. And his face? Oh boy. His face was gangsta. McDavid finally spoke.
Why does everyone ask that?
Why can't people just answer questions?
The gangster man kid said.
Good point. Yes,
McDavid paused for a brief second.
they left.
Well, shit.
The gangster man kid said with an annoyed smirk.
Look, man, you can come with us if you want.
He started standing on his tippy toes and signaling to the people behind McDavid to get a move. He looked directly at McDavid.
But you better at least get off the street. People are going to go crazy once they figure out they are stuck here.
The gangster man kid started running off the street into the alleyway between the buildings on the side of the road. McDavid finally had a choice. After all these uncontrollable events, McDavid finally got to choose. Would he go back to the home and sink in his sorrow, or would he follow the kid? McDavid knew choice was merely a corollary of the proposition of free will. But did McDavid have free will? Did he have a choice? Could he make a change? This story was about when it was too late, and McDavid's time was running out. The moral of being able to make a change inspired him in a way. As the last of the kids followed the gangster kid down the alleyway, McDavid followed as well. The wind started to pick up and rain started to pour heavier onto McDavid and the children and adults that followed. Thunder started to crack behind them, but they found shelter before the storm became dangerous. This building they found themselves in still had power. The lights still worked despite the entire population of Earth having gone to a different planet. The room they were in was mostly empty. The floor was covered in a dark blue carpet that came in square patches. Empty boxes and stacked wooden chairs populated the sides of the room. On one side of the room, there was a small wooden stage that the gangster man child stood on top of. People were not talking, so Gangster Zach didn't have to get their attention. They were already looking at him for attention. McDavid among them.
Hello there.
The gangster man kid said with his smooth and intimate voice.
My name, for those who don't know,
He looked at McDavid.
is Gangster Zach.
McDavid started to chuckle. No one else chuckled. McDavid didn't chuckle because he thought it was cute or funny, or the fact that Gangster Zach called himself with a straight face Gangster Zach. No, McDavid laughed because to him the idea of an 8-year-old being a gangster and the fact that he was leading this group of adults and kids was so ridiculously stupid that McDavid just had to chuckle.
Something funny?
Gangster Zach asked in a calm manner.
No.
McDavid held in his laugh and his reasons to rant about how stupid this was.
Well then, for those who don't know, what is your name, sir?
Gangster Zach asked calmly. McDavid immediately stopped laughing. He wiped that smirk off his face, and in full confidence and egomania he said,
My name is McDavid with a goddamn D.
Okay, welcome McDavid!
Gangster Zach said.
Thank you. I feel welcomed.
McDavid acknowledged.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
An adult from behind McDavid emerged.
What is going on? Where's the ship at? How are we supposed to leave?
Gangster Zach's calming smile turned to dread.
Anastasia has left. And to my knowledge,
He paused. He looked down at his feet. He couldn't bear to look at his people, his friends and his family.
it isn't coming back.
It took the rest of his willpower to push those last 4 words out. The dread in his voice filled the room. Chills crept up everybody's spine. The people wanted to get up in rage. They wanted to start shouting at Gangster Zach, but they didn't. What would be the point? Gangster Zach got off the stage, and the people dispersed around the room. Most people left, but some stayed. Those who did leave didn't know where they would go. To be honest, no one knew what to do. McDavid made his way through the crowd of people leaving and to Gangster Zach. A young girl shadowed them. McDavid nor Gangster Zach realized she was trying to eavesdrop on their conversation.
Did you guys want to leave?
Yes.
Then why didn't you leave?
Gangster Zach raised his head and looked at McDavid straight in the eyes with a cold stare.
Weren't you there? That asshole kidnapped us and forced us to stay on this dying rock. That asshole stole our future right out of our hands. Weren't you there?
No, I wasn't. I didn't get kidnapped either. I was forgotten in a sense. I was running last minute checkups outside the ship, and before I knew it, they left.
So you weren't kidnapped.
Kidnapped? No. Who would kidnap you?
Then why were you out there with the rest of us when he let us out?
McDavid's eyes widened.
Well, now that I think about it, I guess he did kidnap me. But after I told Doris that the ship left and it isn't coming back, he told his guards to let me go with the others. So I assume you all are the others.
I guess we are. Doris?
He called himself Lord Doris.
That's a stupid name.
Gangster Zach said.
Why would he keep all these people here?
I don't know.
Gangster Zach now felt more defeated than ever.
It doesn't matter.
As their conversation continued, no one caught attention of the girl shadowing them, and as Gangster Zach walked away, so did the shadow. McDavid went to the restroom. To his surprise, the lights still worked and the water still ran. With the population of Earth supposed to be zero, the power and water were bound to go out eventually. As McDavid washed his hands, he felt the water crash against his ring. He dried his hands and fidgeted with the ring. The memory one object could store amazed McDavid, but that wouldn't mean every memory stored was a good one. He looked at himself in the mirror. A man and an engineer, stranded from his family, robbed of his life, but why? Was it an accident? Would it even matter? Was this just another hardship to try and live with? Was this meant to happen? He thought of the letter still at his house, still half read. He thought of his wife and his kids. How could she have known he would be left behind? The first stage of grief is denial. He took off his ring and placed it on the sink. The tempestuous winds whisked the windows, and the rain started to die down. McDavid walked in full confidence across the room and made his way to Gangster Zach, who was back on the wooden stage. He was talking to a group of adults trying to find a way to survive. When McDavid made his way to them, he asked,
I think I can get you guys on that ship.
The room went quiet. All eyes turned to this new beacon of hope. The shadow, who eavesdropped on Gangster Zach and McDavid's conversation, made her way to the two of them and listened intently.
I helped build the Anastasia 4.0.
McDavid continued, before being interrupted by someone in the audience.
So you can build another one?
The person asked.
Not with what we have here, but with the right equipment, I could build a giant radio that we could use to communicate with the crew aboard Anastasia. Once they realize I'm not on the ship, they will have to come back for me. They'll bring the ship back to get me, and if they get me, then they'll have to get all of us.
McDavid stated.
So we can get off this planet?
The shadow asked.
Yes!
McDavid answered.
How are we supposed to build a radio? As far as I know, you are the only one with a background in this type of engineering. Am I wrong? I mean, does anyone actually have any background in this kind of stuff?
Gangster Zach asked.
Electrical engineering.
McDavid corrected. No one answered.
That's okay. I think in a past life, I used to be a teacher anyway. I can teach you guys. We can work as a team.
As McDavid continued, the shadow sneaked out of the building. The rain stopped pouring, so she stayed dry, making her way to the palace of Lord Doris. She ran past the giant doors McDavid was thrown out of, and ran to a set of stairs going down located on the side of the palace. A set of double doors greeted the shadow there. She opened them. She found herself behind Lord Doris's throne. As she approached the throne, the guards were not there, but Lord Doris was. Lord Doris was still there, mindlessly fidgeting with his toy crown.
How are they doing?
Lord Doris asked as he heard the shadow walking up to the throne from behind. She made her way in front of him and knelt.
They want to get off this planet, my lord.
She was frightened by the news she had to present. Lord Doris giggled.
What are they going to do that?
Lord Doris asked.
A big radio, my lord.
She said. Lord Doris stopped playing with his crown and looked to his right. A round man with short, thin gray hair stood silently.
Will it work?
The man closed his eyes, but you could still see them rolling back and forth in his eyelids.
Yes, depending on how powerful its effects, how far the signal can reach, but I predict they will have about 6 months before it's too late.
The round man said. The shadow girl's eyes widened as she mouthed the words, 6 months. Lord Doris barked.
Yes, my lord.
The shadow named Abby responded. Lord Doris stood up. He had the same attire as before. He had comically short, scrawny legs with a big, round, horizontally long body that was about 4 feet long and a little over 5 feet tall. Anyone who looked at this man was immediately stricken with fear. Abby lowered her head more so she didn't have to see him.
cannot leave.
He barked in the most disturbing manner.
They leave. They abandon our home. This is our planet, our comfort, and they cannot take that away from us.
Spit launched out of his mouth as he roared at Abby.
If those morons come back, they won't take us all. They won't kill us all. Do what you must, young one. Kill them all if you must. Do not let that ship come back.
Yes, my lord.
Abby said. She waited for a moment before standing up. She turned around and started to walk towards the two big doors. While she walked away, Lord Doris called out to her.
Abby?
Abby stopped walking, but didn't turn around to look at Lord Doris. She rolled her eyes.
Yes, my...
Don't have to call me that.
Lord Doris sat back down.
Tell you what?
She asked.
My lord, I am your dad after all. You can just call me Dad.
You don't deserve that!
Abby said. She turned around to look at Lord Doris.
Why would you keep all these people here?
Abby shook her head.
Because they don't see your vision?
She scoffed.
You are not my dad! You don't deserve that title!
I helped those people. I saved them.
Lord Doris said calmly.
You don't know what's going to happen on that new planet.
Lord Doris got up and started walking towards Abby.
Millions will go hungry. Scrounge for scraps. Planet is already on the brink of collapse. They would think it will save them, but nothing will change. All they are doing is bringing their problems with them. But yet, thousands will survive on full blaze and clear sky. It will be a paradise.
He looked up and waved his hands in the air, imagining his paradise.
Because you kidnapped thousands!
Small price to pay for the salvation of this planet, young one.
Or salvation.
This is crazy.
You see it though, right?
Abby said nothing.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Your actions are wrong!
Abby snapped.
How can you not see that? Why would you think it's okay to kidnap all these people? You have your army, isn't that enough?
Lord Doris scowled as his egotistical narcissism prevented him from fully listening to her.
See that?
He pointed to Abby.
This is why I'm in charge. I'm the only one who sees the whole picture. Only one willing to commit a means for an end. My paradise is not some boot camp to be marched over by soldiers.
He paused for a moment and took a deep breath to calm himself down.
Look, Abby. They are here. That ship isn't coming back. Your task is merely a precaution. Help me save these people. Help me build the perfect paradise that I know you once saw.
Abby rolled her eyes, turned around and started to walk away. Lord Doris looked down in defeat and started to walk back to his throne. Abby stopped walking. She could still hear the taps of Lord Doris making his way to his chair. She pondered to herself. She thought about that paradise she dreamed of as a little girl, and the cost she would never pay. That was long ago, when she was still a little girl. Nevertheless, she said,
I guess you can't change the past.
Lord Doris looked up and smiled.
One last question, I promise, my dear.
He turned back around.
Have you met a person named McDavid?
Abby sighed.
Yeah. Is he with them?
Yeah.
She said, unsure of what he might say next. Lord Doris thought to himself for a few seconds.
Get rid of him.
He told Abby.
Yes, my lord.
Abby said, leaving the building as Lord Doris sighed and went back onto his throne. Abby had a few extra stops before heading back to Gangster Zach, McDavid, and the rest of the group. Abby knew this task would be close to impossible if she did it herself. Lucky for her, she was part of the scariest group of people ever created. The scary short girls at the end of the hallway. These girls strike at the end of the hallway, hence why the end of the hallway was in their name. The members of the scary short girls all lived in Lord Doris's palace on the second floor. Abby climbed the marble stairs and made her way to Annie's room. Annie's room was the first door when you entered the hallway. Abby stood outside it for a moment. She wondered what they might think. You see, the other members of the Scary Short Girls didn't know Lord Doris kidnapped everyone and made them stay here. They thought people wanted to stay behind and took the palace as shelter, but Abby knew the truth. She took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Annie opened the door. She was a short white girl with straight brown hair. She had a pair of ripped jeans on and a brown t-shirt with the white text on it.
Yes?
She said.
I need your help.
Abby said.
What's up?
Annie walked back into her room, grabbed an empty backpack off the floor and a suitcase from under her bed, and put them both on her bed.
They are trying to get the Anastasia to come back.
Who is they?
Annie asked as she put clothes in the suitcase and put a knife, a radio, a dictionary, and a pair of handcuffs, and some food, and water in the backpack.
People who chose to stay behind. I guess they changed their mind about staying.
Change their mind?
Annie scoffed.
Why is that a problem? A few people leave, so what? He has his little army. What more does he want?
Abby sighed.
He says he doesn't want soldiers stomping all over his paradise.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Abby scoffed. She paused before adding.
Lord Doris seems to think that if this ship comes back, they're going to take all of us. And if they put us on that ship, we're already as good as dead.
Why would they take us with them? We didn't have to go, did we?
Abby froze up for a moment, and her shoulders tensed up.
Yes,
She lied.
we didn't have to go.
Abby knew it was common knowledge that people had the choice whether they wanted to leave Earth or not. Luckily for Abby, Annie didn't have that common knowledge.
Huh.
Annie shrugged.
Whatever Lord Doris wants, I guess.
Abby's shoulders relaxed as Annie zipped up her suitcase and backpack.
Are we getting Faye?
Annie asked.
Of course, we're not the scary short girls without Faye.
Abby opened Annie's bedroom door and walked back into the hallway, with Annie right behind her. Abby looked down at the hallway and saw Faye exiting her room with a backpack and suitcase as well. Abby gave Faye a puzzled look as Annie closed her bedroom door behind her.
I was eavesdropping.
Faye confessed.
We have thin walls here.
Abby asked.
So are you?
Yeah, I'm in. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah! Yeah!
Annie said super enthusiastically. Back at Gangster Zach's group, McDavid was laying out the game plan for building the radio. They all surrounded a dinner table with two big white sheets of paper on it. One piece of paper had the blueprints for making the radio, and the other was a map of the city. There were 4 main parts McDavid needed to build the radio: the reflector dish, the antenna, the amplifier, and the receiver.
The reflector dish and the antenna can be found at the control center about half a mile east of where the ship was.
McDavid said, pointing in the bottom part of the map as someone surrounded the table raised their hand.
Yeah, hi. How do we know which way is east?
The man asked.
The sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
McDavid's witty response sparked unease in the guy's eyes.
Figure it out!
McDavid continued.
Since both the reflector dish and the antenna can be found at the control center, we only need to split into 3 groups. Me, you, and you.
McDavid pointed to 2 younger gentlemen who looked at each other with disgust, but they didn't seem to bother McDavid. Hell, he didn't really even care.
We'll get the amplifier from the unnamed convenience store.
As soon as McDavid finished that sentence, the 3 girls from Lord Doris's palace burst into the room. Everybody turned to look at them.
Where did you go?
McDavid asked.
To get help!
Abby said, pointing to Annie and Faye. Abby didn't lie when she said this. She was getting help, but not for the reasons McDavid assumed.
Good. We will need it. You 3.
McDavid pointed to the 2 scary short girls.
And you 2.
He pointed to another girl and 1 guy.
Go to the control center, get everything turned on, and wait for the rest of us to get there. If the power goes out, find the generator in the basement and take gas from the cars outside to fuel it.
The people McDavid pointed to all nodded their heads simultaneously.
The rest of you, go to the nearest Radio Shack and find a receiver.
All right!
Someone said eagerly. Silence followed, packing the room like clothes in a suitcase. McDavid broke the silence.
The quicker we get this done, the better chance we have at getting rescued, and the better chance we have at surviving. There is a reason the human race decided to leave this planet. So what are you waiting for? Go!
McDavid watched as all the people left to do their tasks. Gangster Zach sneaked up behind him and tapped him on the shoulder.
Why are you helping us?
He asked. McDavid didn't think about his family this time. This time, he thought about Lord Doris kidnapping all these people and forcing them to stay here.
I had my shot. You guys deserve to have yours too.
Gangster Zach looked bewildered.
What does that mean, you had your shot?
He asked as they walked out of the building and sat down on the wet concrete steps outside.
I could have left. I wasn't kidnapped against my will or forced to stay here. I messed up. I should have left, but I didn't. So now I'm stuck here.
McDavid paused. A tear dripped down his cheek.
I missed them, Zach.
Gangster Zach patted him on the back, ignoring the fact that McDavid said his name wrong. It was Gangster Zach, not Zach.
You said you were doing all this for us.
Gangster Zach pulled out a ring he found in the restroom.
Do it for them.
My ring!
Wait, this is your ring? Oh, that's lucky. My guy, I found this in the restroom. Why was your ring in the restroom?
McDavid thought to himself, wondered if he should let Gangster Zach further into his life. He wondered if he trusted him. And he did. And he just let it out.
They say the first stage of grief is denial.
Gangster Zach looked down at the ring. He thought about how McDavid was alone. His eyes widened as he put the pieces together.
No, she didn't.
Gangster Zach was speechless. So was McDavid.
I'm so sorry.
Me too.
McDavid wasn't talking about himself or Gangster Zach or anyone stuck on this planet with him, but the 3 people in his life that weren't there.
I just wish they knew that I'm not mad. I'm just sorry, you know?
Yeah. Tell you what, when we get all these parts to build this radio and that ship's come flying back to rescue us, when you see your family again, you tell them that. Do it for them, McDavid. Do it for them.
McDavid turned to look at Gangster Zach and smiled. Not a smile of joy, he wasn't happy, but a smile of hope. At the control center, the scary short girls, along with the man and the woman from their group, walked to the control panel. Once inside, they took the stairs up to the main part of the building, because the building was held up by 6 giant pillars. No one was talking as they were walking through a long hallway that led to the lobby of the control center. The scary short girls walked ahead of the other 2 and looked at each other out of the corner of their eyes, signaling to each other that they were ready to strike. As they made it to the end of the hallway, the lights went out. As they did, the 3 scary short girls pulled knives out of their pockets and stabbed the 2 in the neck. Blood gushed out of their wounds. The stab victims were still alive, but not for long. When they tried to talk, nothing but thick blood flooded their mouths, and as they tried to breathe, that thick blood stuffed their lungs. The scary girls caught them before they slammed onto the ground and gently placed them on the floor as they drifted into the beyond. The lights didn't just go out in the control center, but the entire town. It was 100% luck that the girls struck exactly when the power went out. Abby pulled out a hand radio from her back pocket and said, "Send them in. There are 2 groups. One group is the unnamed convenience store and the other is at the radio shack west of the palace. We'll head to the convenience store. You all head to the radio shack." Abby put the radio back in her back pocket and made a hand motion, signaling to the rest of the scary short girls to follow her. They jogged over to one of the 6 giant pillars. Abby pulled 6 pieces of C4 out of her backpack. She handed 2 pieces to each of the scary girls. They each placed a piece of C4 onto each pillar that held up the control center. Faye gave the detonator to Abby, but she wasn't going to blow the building up quite yet. The plan was to wait till Gangster Zach's group got inside the building, destroying the building and Gangster Zach's group. 2 birds, 1 stone.
Are we really going to kill all these people, Abby?
Faye asked. "Like we haven't before," Abby said. Annie was still setting up the C4 on a pillar far away.
But those were bad people. These people just want to go home.
"This is their home," Abby sneered.
I always thought home was where your family was.
"Home is just a building." Abby pulled a book out from her backpack. "And according to this dictionary that I carry with me at all times for this conversations just like this, I quote, 'Home, the place where one lives permanently. Plus, these are bad people. We offered them a place of sanctuary, and now they are just throwing that kindness right back at our faces.'" Abby stood up. "They're going to get what's coming for them." She started to walk away. Faye stayed, still not knowing what to say.
Abby?
Abby stopped walking, but didn't turn around.
Are you okay?
"I'm fine." She shrugged the question off.
How are you feeling?
Abby slowed to a stop. She thought to herself for a second. "I feel..." She still searched for the answer. "Cold," she said. Meanwhile, McDavid was making his way to the unnamed convenience store with 2 younger gentlemen. On their walk to the convenience store, McDavid learned that their names were Aiden and Logan. Aiden was a little baby man-child. He had glasses, and because of his immature age, he had braces as well. He was like a little goblin, but white. Logan was a bit like a homunculus, a big piss baby, an ugly but handsome man who didn't know what chapstick was. They both wore sweatshirts, but Logan wore sweatpants and Aiden wore shorts. Logan had a gun that no one knew about, hidden behind his pants. McDavid was in front of them, power walking in the most perfect form, ignoring the loser kids who were walking behind him.
"Do you know how many sides a pentagon has?"
Aiden asked.
69.
Logan said.
"No, it's just 6.
9.
Ha!
Wait, I thought it had 5.
It does.
Then why did you say 6?
It was a joke."
That wasn't funny.
McDavid said, then proceeded to stay quiet for the rest of their conversation.
I thought that was hilarious.
"Thank you."
So, I wasn't really paying attention. What are we doing?
Logan asked.
"Oh, I see. Boost my ego before asking me the most retarded question imaginable. We are going to a place to find a thing to get to a place."
Thank you. That helps a lot.
"No problem."
Why would we want to leave?
"Were you not originally going to leave?"
I don't see the need to.
Really?
Logan nodded.
Logan, look around. Polluted air, gray skies all over. God put us on this earth, but he never meant for us to stay here.
And where in the Bible does it say that?
It doesn't.
Then why bring it up?
Because it is true! You really think humans are supposed to die with this planet?
Logan smiled before saying,
Dude.
He chuckled.
I don't know, man.
You are literally so stupid.
Quiet.
McDavid said as they made it to the entrance of the unnamed convenience store. Logan ignored McDavid.
Man, shut the fuck up.
McDavid stopped and jolted his head right in front of Logan's face.
Excuse me?
He said.
I was talking to him.
Logan pointed to Aiden.
Not you, sir. Never to you, sir.
McDavid raised his left eyebrow like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's legendary eyebrow raise.
I didn't mean it, sir. I didn't mean it. Please keep walking, sir. Please keep walking.
Logan cried. McDavid scoffed as Logan ran ahead of him and Aiden. Aiden kept his pace behind McDavid. They walked in silence for a few moments. McDavid turned his head slightly to see Aiden walking behind him with his head down. McDavid looked up as he thought about Gangster Zach and Lord Doris. He wondered how they got that level of respect from so many people, from Gangster Zach's group and Lord Doris's army.
So, how do you know Zach?
McDavid asked with an awkward feeling bubbling inside of him.
Gangster Zach!
Aiden corrected. His head was still hanging low.
And he saved my life.
I don't understand. That kid can't seriously be named Gangster Zach. There is no way that is what it says on his birth certificate.
It is, and it does. When we were held in Doris's dungeon, Gangster Zach brought his birth certificate out of his back pocket and held it out for everyone to see. Someone had to light their lighter just so we could see the paper.
Aiden chuckled.
I looked at it, and as a matter of fact, there it read, first name, Gangster, last name, Zach.
His parents must have hated him. That's the only explanation.
McDavid thought to himself, but didn't say anything. Instead, he asked the other question that lured in his mind.
Doris's dungeon?
It's where he kept us. Some of us for years, some of us for days.
How long were you there?
McDavid asked as the unnamed convenience store started to reveal itself over the horizon.
Only a couple months. Gangster Zach was there for over a year. When we were all trapped in that cold, dark cell, no one stood up. No one brought us together. No one really did anything. Just stood or sat there, counting the days until that last ship flew off. No one except for that 8-year-old. When everyone lost hope, he was the only one who stood up and brought us together. He helped us light up that dungeon and get rations to people. To a small group of people in that dungeon, Gangster Zach became our leader. Because in a lot of 1,000 people, an 8-year-old kid was the only one to rise up and lead a group of lost souls.
So, why do you still follow him now? I mean, you're out of the dungeon. You're free, aren't you?
I'm not free, just trapped in a bigger cell. Of course, I still follow him. What choice do I have?
McDavid smiled as they approached the front door of the unnamed convenience store. Logan was out on the side of the door, his head tilted down, trying to treat McDavid like royalty. Aiden started to speak but was interrupted.
Quiet.
McDavid dragged the single word out with his deep and raspy voice as he burst the glass door open with a single and continued power walk down the main hallway. Hallways made of filled shelves were on each side of the main walkway. No one spoke a word after McDavid commanded them to be quiet. Aiden walked cluelessly, but Logan started to sweat. Logan fidgeted with his gun behind his pants but didn't pull it out, yet. McDavid found the aisle with the amplifier. He ran down the hallway, knelt and picked it up, but when he turned back around, still knelt, Logan had a gun pointed right at Aiden's chest. McDavid heard the main entrance door squeak open. The footsteps of multiple people grew louder and closer as Logan, Aiden, and McDavid stood still, shocked at the recent turn of events. McDavid looked up at Logan and Aiden, and McDavid found out the loud footsteps were the 3 scary short girls as they entered the aisle. They all stood still and silent as they tried to determine who was on whose side. Abby looked at Logan, and Logan looked at Abby in the corner of his eye. She nodded, and bang! A bullet soared right into Aiden's chest, and he fell to the ground, smoke rising out of Logan's gun. McDavid quickly threw himself at Logan, grabbed the gun, and yanked it out of his hand. McDavid fell backwards onto the ground and started crawling backwards. He held the amplifier in one hand and the gun pointed at Logan in the other.
Why did you do that?
McDavid blurted out.
Why should we keep seeking perfection?
What the crap is wrong with you?
When will life be good enough?
Why would you do that?
The world is good enough.
You killed him!
The shock of Aiden's death finally settled in.
There is no need to leave.
Logan said with a big grin on his face. The three scary girls behind Logan started to reach for something hidden behind their backs as well.
This planet is dying.
McDavid continued, crawling backwards.
Why can't anybody get that through their gall dang head?
We'll die first.
Logan didn't move. Two of the scary girls shifted to the aisle surrounding the one McDavid was in. They were making their way down their aisle and planned to cut McDavid off at the end of his aisle. McDavid saw Abby pulling something big and gun-shaped out from behind her back. Before Abby could pull her gun all the way out, McDavid started shooting towards the two of their legs. Abby darted to cover, but not without getting a bullet to the shin. She crawled to cover, trying not to scream from the pain. The bullet was lodged into the bone, making it extremely painful to get out. One of the last shots hit Logan right above his left knee. He put both his hands on the wound and fell to the ground. McDavid got up and started running to the end of the aisle, still holding the amplifier in one hand and the gun in the other. Abby stayed behind cover, wondering if McDavid would shoot again. McDavid made his way to the end of the aisle, and on the left side he saw half of a shoe peeking out. McDavid went against the aisle's left shelf and saw another girl hiding on the right side, Annie. Annie had a gun, and McDavid assumed the girl on the left did too. McDavid and Annie locked eyes. He jumped over to her and tried to get the gun out from her hand, but she had a tight grip on it. McDavid saw the girl on the left, who turned out to be Faye, starting to point her gun. McDavid let go of Annie's gun. She lost her balance. McDavid swooped around and got Annie in a headlock. Annie dropped her gun. McDavid kicked her legs so they would lock up, and she fell onto the ground. McDavid threw his gun and grabbed hers. He pointed the gun at Faye. She immediately threw her gun down in front of her and put her hands up. McDavid pointed the gun towards Faye's feet and shot around them, not hitting them. He threw Annie, who was still in a headlock, at Faye, and they crashed into each other. McDavid kept the gun pointed towards the two of them as he slowly walked to the emergency exit. He opened the door, keeping the gun pointed at them until the door shut. Once the door shut, McDavid booked it. The two girls waited a few seconds. They could hear Abby crying for help. Annie and Faye did nothing but look at each other. He didn't know where he was going to go, but that wasn't his main concern right now. He stopped by a tree and tried to catch his breath. He had just left Aiden to bleed out and Logan with a bullet to the leg. Abby with a broken shin and two girls he had never met now feared for their lives. And McDavid caused it all. He could only hope that everyone else had made it to the control center safely. Annie and Faye could hear Abby and Logan's cries for help. Annie and Faye looked at each other, debating if they should help them. They didn't. Faye grabbed her gun and Annie grabbed McDavid's old gun, and they left out the same exit McDavid did.
Hey!
They said at the same time. They waited a second.
No, you go first.
They also said at the same time. Annie said,
You know what? I think we were going to say the same thing anyway, so just blurt out what you're going to say on three. One, two, three.
Lord Doris kidnapped
all these people to stay behind on Earth.
They said at the same time for the last time.
So, what do we do?
Annie asked.
I don't know.
Faye thought to herself for a moment.
But I do know Doris will do whatever it takes to stop that ship from coming back. So we have to stop him. Who else is going to?
Annie smiled.
Okay, you follow that guy. He seems like he's their leader or something. Since he got the amplifier, he's probably on his way back to the control center. I'll go find Lord Doris and figure out what he's doing. If I have time, I'll warn the others as well.
Annie said.
Alright. It's Channel 4 on the radio, right?
Faye asked.
Yeah, Channel 4. Hey, you tell me when that guy is close to the control center, alright? Okay, yeah, I will.
Faye said as she started to run off.
Faye!
Annie called.
What are we gonna do if Doris called his army?
Faye looked down at the particularly dead grass.
I don't know.
Speaking of all the others, Gangster Zach and about 30 other people made their way to the Radio Shack. They all couldn't fit in the Radio Shack, so just Gangster Zach and one other random person went in. Gangster Zach wandered the aisles, and the other guy did the same.
Oh, do you know what this receiver is supposed to look like?
The other guy asked.
I was imagining a dish-looking thing?
Gangster Zach said.
A dish?
Yeah, like one on top of people's houses back in the day?
Gangster Zach, a dish-looking thing is at the control center.
The man walked down his aisle some more. He looked down to see a big black box with knobs and wires all over it.
This what a receiver look like?
He picked the box up and lifted it over his head so Gangster Zach could see from the other aisle.
Well, it's a good thing you're here.
Gangster Zach said. He studied the box some more, and as he got closer, he said,
That looks like the Kaaba.
They had to manually open the automatic doors to let themselves out, because the power no longer worked. Some of the people waiting outside helped them open the glass doors.
We have it!
Yay!
Yeah!
Yes! The group said in a cooperative apathy.
Alright.
Gangster Zach said under his breath.
Let's go!
He shouted as he waved his arms in the air. They all slowly started to stroll behind Gangster Zach and make their way to the control center. About 30 minutes later, Gangster Zach's group had left the radio shack. Lord Doris showed up. He was standing on the bed of the pickup truck. An army of people in cars as far as the eye could see were behind Lord Doris. They had assault rifles in their hands and machine guns attached to their cars. This army turned anything they simply walked over into ash. Buildings were burnt down from the town just a couple miles back. Trees were run down from the forest they had just passed through. And anyone that got in their way were simply mowed down. All colors turned to gray and black as soon as Lord Doris's army made their way there. Hundreds of thousands of people, all believing, all convinced that Earth was their home, that Earth was where they were supposed to be, and all willing to die instead of being forced into a new world. Lord Doris hopped out of the bed of his truck and walked up to the automatic glass doors. He squinted and walked backwards and towards the doors again.
Why won't this open?
Lord Doris shouted. He stomped up to the door and tried to pull it open, but he couldn't.
Can someone get you there?
He pointed to one of the soldiers.
You did.
He pointed to the door. Bang! Shattered glass flew into the radio shack like an army of small birds nosediving into the building's floor. Lord Doris stepped into the building, his shoes protecting him from the shattered glass on the floor. He stomped through the building, looking down each aisle. Nothing. His frown grew deeper. His brows started to furrow and his jaw started to clench. Then he spotted it, a door in the back. He marched to it and kicked the door open, only to find a bunch of cardboard boxes and newspapers covering the floor tile. His frown tensed up, and his brow began to furrow. He stomped out of the building and pulled out his radio.
Where are they?
He asked. No answer.
Abby, where are they?
Still no answer.
Where the fuck?
The control center! You could hear the pain Abby was trying to hide. Hurry! She whimpered. We couldn't stop McDavid.
You couldn't.
There were 4 of you. Oh, you know what? Never mind. Where is the control center?
East of where the ship was. Each word she spoke was more painful than the last. Lord Doris hopped back into the bed of his truck and banged on the head of it, trying to get the driver's attention. The driver energetically looked up at him.
Did you get that?
Lord Doris asked. The driver nodded, shaking his head as if he was having a seizure.
And let go.
Lord Doris screamed. The driver jolted forward and stomped on the gas. Lord Doris hung onto a rail he had installed on the head of the truck. He swayed back and forth as the truck accelerated. His army started to march behind him. He threw his hand radio out of the truck and onto the ground, like a kid throwing their toy out of the car window. Abby's voice could be heard mumbling out of the radio, but no one cared. The soldiers just walked over it. They crushed it. They destroyed it. They left Abby behind. Lord Doris pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket and gripped it as hard as he could. He looked forward, a smile emerging on his face. In front of the unnamed convenience store, a truck's engine could be heard rumbling its way towards the front door. Abby and Logan were still inside, crawling to find medicine or supplies that would help them. Outside the store, a man dressed like a sheriff with a cowboy hat got out of the truck. He slammed the door. The noise caused Abby and Logan to start to freak out. They thought it might have been Lord Doris. At first, all they saw was a figure of a man approaching them. Abby started to black out as the man got closer. And as Abby's steps grew louder, her vision grew darker until nothing.
Abby!
Logan yelled.
Abby!
He crawled over to her. The man got closer. Logan started shaking Abby to get up before the man cast a shadow over him. He stood right over them.
Can you please help my friend, sir?
Logan asked.
The man's calm stance quickly turned into an action stance as he started to look around. He found the medicine aisle and rushed into it, finding bandages, alcohol, medicine, and stitches to help ease the pain. He brought all of it back to Logan and Abby. He slid onto the ground and hastily patched the two of them up. He stitched Logan's leg and wrapped bandages around Abby's.
Your friend was shot in the shin.
The man said with his deep voice.
You can't stitch that. I did the best I could, but we need to find a real doctor, or at least find the right equipment to patch her up.
The man looked around.
You kids need a cane. Stay here.
The man stood up and went into another aisle. He was gone for only a few seconds before coming back with 2 sticks strong enough to hold someone's weight.
Let's get her outside.
The man said.
Why?
Logan asked.
It's getting dark soon. You want to stay in here and get cold, or go out there and make a fire?
I guess that makes a good point. Hey, I never asked your name.
Logan said.
Reed.
The man said.
Road Warrior Reed.
There's a road warrior and a gangster?
Come on, let's get her outside. Wait, you said you're a gangster?
Have you ever had the feeling when you woke up and for a few seconds you couldn't process anything because your brain didn't want to work? Well, that's what it was like for Abby whenever she woke up, except for the fact that the effects lasted a few minutes longer. When you went from the freaking out in the store to seeing the black starless void with a bright orange fuming fire right next to you, you would start to go a little crazy. Abby jumped up, gulping for air. Who the, how the, why the... Logan woke up and struck his arms out to try and calm Abby.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down there, Abby. Everything is okay. It's okay.
Abby started to pace her breathing. Logan lay back down. Reed just sat in his folding chair, leaned back, and watched the two. He studied them as a million different possibilities wandered through his mind about who these people could be. He sat up straight.
If you don't mind me asking, how did the two you end up with bullets in y'all's legs?
We were shot, Abby said bluntly, looking into the fire as it twisted and turned the way the wind was telling it to.
Yeah, I could see that. But how did you get shot? I mean, who shot you?
We tried to make eye contact with her, but she just kept staring. We got shot by a gun and the bullet hit our legs. That's how we got shot. Logan fell back asleep. Reed sighed.
This doesn't have to do with that Doris fella, does it?
Abby finally looked at him. What do you know about Lord Doris? Reed chuckled.
Lord Doris.
He chuckled some more.
There is a road warrior, a gangster, and a lord.
Answer the question, Abby snapped.
You first, sweetheart.
Fine, a man shot us. Not Lord Doris. I don't know who he was. She lied. Your turn.
Fine,
He said humorously. He sighed. His smile died down.
I know he kidnapped me, but not my family. He split us apart. There has to be a reason to kidnap so many, to keep many people here. I simply want to know why.
Abby looked back into the fire. She thought about her father figure, all the hatred, the neglect. I'm sorry to hear that. She paused for a moment. He's crazy. She smiled as if she was proud.
Thank you. He is crazy, but I mean, even crazy people have reason to do things.
He always thought of himself as a prophet, Abby said, thinking he's the only one who can see that this new path the human race has gone on will inevitably lead to the same fate his planet did. She looked up at Reed again. Destruction.
If this planet's fate is destruction, why stay here?
He said, trillions couldn't survive here, but thousands could thrive. She looked up to the sky. He had it all planned out. A civilization, a paradise. But they called him a madman. The few who did wanted to stay for sex and drugs. They all wanted to do their own thing. They didn't want to help advance Lord Doris's vision. So he kidnapped you guys. I mean, there are thousands of stories just like yours. Her mind wandered for a moment. What an asshole, she said, not only referring to the kidnapping, but also to Lord Doris leaving her to die. Reed began to get skeptical about Abby.
You seem to know a lot about this.
She looked back into the flames. He is my father.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, she sighed a heavy sigh. And I'm going to kill him. They sat in silence for a few moments. The only noise was the whispers of the wind and the crackles of the fire. Abby's mind was stuck on the thought of killing Doris.
This man who shot you, was he...
He is right, you know, Abby interrupted. Lord Doris, he was right. His actions were wrong, sure, but he is right. We can't keep changing everything all the time. How can't they see that they are bringing all of their problems to the new world. Nothing's going to change. We keep making the same mistakes over and over again, Abby started to shout. Learning nothing, changing nothing, and still expecting different results. Yes, Doris was wrong for kidnapping all those people, but don't think for a second that staying here was the wrong decision, because it wasn't. Staying here guarantees the survival of the human race, and staying here guarantees the evolution of mankind. I'm going to kill him for what he did to me, for what he did to you, and for what he did for the thousands of other families out there, but don't ever think for a second that his intentions were wrong. She caught her breath, because they weren't. Reed paused for a second, choosing his next words very carefully.
Alright, kid.
He said, leaning back in his chair.
Alright.
He took his hat off and placed it on his chest as he leaned back ready to fall asleep.
Let's hit the hay, kid. Leave our strength in for the morning.
Annie, like McDavid, was good at running. Although, unlike McDavid, her mind didn't wander. She was 100% focused on what she needed to do. The last she knew, Lord Doris was still at his palace, so that was the first place she went to. She opened the 2 giant doors that revealed an empty throne and an empty palace. The doors squeaked as it swung back and forth because of the wind, echoing through the empty palace. She knew that if Lord Doris wasn't on his throne, he wasn't in the palace. She ran to the back and looked through the big back window. A new trail of dead grass that she hadn't seen before flowed over the horizon, so she made the conscious decision to follow it. Gangster Zach and the others made it to the control center. No one was there either. No one except 2 bodies lying at the end of the hallway. Flies were buzzing around the rotting corpses. The smell of rotting meat and fruity undertones stenched the room. They lay facing up on the ground with long slashes at the front of their necks. Thick, dry blood covered the rest of their neck and had spilt onto their shirt. Their eyes were still open. Gangster Zach knelt down and gently shut them.
Who was supposed to be here?
Gangster Zach asked, plunging his nostrils.
Well, those 3 girls were.
A man said.
And then?
He pointed to the 2 dead bodies. The boy and girl the scary short girls had killed when they first entered the control center. They looked at each other with unease.
Jesus,
Gangster Zach said. Gangster Zach walked away and started to wander about the halls. He opened a few doors to find abandoned offices and destroyed computer rooms. Then he found it. A big red box with the words Fire Emergency Kit written on it in white. He opened the box. He found a mini fire extinguisher and some bandages, and the main thing he was looking for was a gray and puffy fire blanket. 2 of them to be exact. He brought the blankets back down to the bodies in the hallway. With some help from his group, they wrapped the bodies in the blankets and carried them outside. When they got outside, 2 holes were being dug by some other people from Gangster Zach's group. The holes were next to one of the middle pillars. None of them saw the blinking red light from the C4 placed on the other side of the pillar. They lightly placed the blanket-wrapped bodies into the holes. They stopped moving for a moment of silence. They were people they barely knew. People who got left behind. And 2 people who would never be seen again. They were 2 families halfway across the galaxy who lost a son and a daughter, who lost a husband and a wife, who lost a mother and a father. And they would never even know.
Go ahead,
Gangster Zach said. 2 men proceeded to grab shovels and cover the blanketed bodies in the ground with dirt. Gangster Zach turned around and went back inside. Still no sign of anyone. Annie would never forget the first thing she saw when she emerged over the horizon. Dead trees curved away from the grassy hills that had a stain of dead grass acting like a path, twisting and turning and leading to Lord Doris's army. An army of about 1,000 soldiers were marching simultaneously with each other. And miles ahead, the control center could be seen. Annie lay down on the ground and pulled out her radio.
Faye!
Annie waited for a few seconds before saying it again.
Faye! Faye! Are you there? Yes, hi, hello?
Faye said.
Is that guy there yet? Not yet, why?
Annie peeked over the horizon again.
Doris has his army.
A long pause followed.
How many?
Faye asked.
The palace is empty. I assume all of them. I mean, we are talking at least 1,000.
Holy shit! You have to tell them!
Annie sighed.
The control center is miles away! And? Well, I don't really want to run that. Plus, I have to go around Doris's army, Annie.
Faye said to Annie.
Faye?
Annie said to Faye.
Annie, Lord Doris outnumbers Gangster Zach's group. 33-1. They are sitting ducks out there.
Annie sighed again, and the sigh turned into a mumble.
Fine. Thank you.
Annie put the radio back in her backpack and looked back over the hill. Lord Doris's army wasn't moving fast, but they were getting closer. Annie's eyes glanced over to the dead trees on the side of the hill. She looked through them and saw the gray concrete of an old road. She shuffled down the trees and pushed herself through the dead wood of an ancient tree. She ran onto the road, looked down in the direction where the control center should be, and saw a green metal sign in the distance. She ran up to it.
Anastasia Control Center. 5 miles.
She smiled and started sprinting in that direction. About 25 minutes later, she finally made it to the control center. She looked down towards the hills and saw Lord Doris's army not too far behind. She went up to one of the far back pillars and entered the control center from behind. She walked down the same path as before and walked past the place where the scary short girls killed those 2 random people. Except they weren't there.
Shit.
Annie said under her breath. Voices could be heard up ahead. Annie peeked around the corner to see Gangster Zach and the rest of the group arguing. Annie stopped peeking. She took a deep breath, knowing that Gangster Zach and the rest of the group knew about what they did. She inhaled sharply before walking into the room. The rays of the sun glistened into the room from the nearby window. Her footsteps were stentorian. The room went quiet. Their smiles vanished.
I know what it looks like.
Annie said with her hands up.
Get her.
Gangster Zach said. Gangster Zach's group surrounded her and forced her hands behind her back and her knees to the ground. Annie didn't resist.
Where are the others? They're coming.
Annie said.
So is Doris.
That's true.
Someone from Gangster Zach's group emphasized as they peeked out the window from their side.
Look.
Gangster Zach went straight to the window and looked out to see Lord Doris's army in his own front yard.
Why are you here?
Gangster Zach turned back towards Annie.
Doris is coming. Yeah, I see that. You have to get out of here. They outnumber you 33-1. You don't stand a chance.
Gangster Zach looked out into the hallway where Annie had entered.
Where are the other 2? The other 2? What are you talking about? You have to get out of here.
You could hear Annie was starting to get frustrated, but Gangster Zach stayed calm.
You killed that boy and girl, but there were 5 of you who were sent here. What happened to the other 2? Oh, those 2? One got shot in the leg, and the other is chasing the person who shot her. Look, man, I'm sorry we stabbed them. You didn't just stab them.
Gangster Zach said, still calm.
You killed them. I'm sorry, we didn't know you were kidnapped.
Gangster Zach's eyes widened.
But right now, that doesn't matter. Doris will kill you if you don't get out of here. We're not leaving.
Gangster Zach stated as he looked over at Annie.
Untie her.
Gangster Zach looked directly into her eyes.
Get out of here.
Annie flung her arms around, letting the rest of the rope escape her wrist. She stood there for a moment, about to speak again, but didn't. She started walking backwards into the hallway where she had killed that boy and girl. She turned around, and her walk turned into a jog. Gangster Zach watched as she turned a corner and disappeared. He tilted his head up and looked out the window to the right side of him. He saw his people gathering around them.
Get away from the windows.
Everyone immediately shuffled away from the windows and gathered closer to the center of the room. Gangster Zach slowly approached the windows. As he got closer, more and more people came into his view. And when he looked down, Lord Doris appeared with a gun pointed right at the window. Lord Doris smirked. Then bam! Gangster Zach jumped backwards as the bullets cracked through the window, sending glass everywhere.
Hello.
Lord Doris called from out of the window. Gangster Zach slowly approached the window. He ducked below the window so Lord Doris couldn't see him.
Is McDavid up there?
Lord Doris asked.
I want to talk with him.
No!
Gangster Zach yelled.
And who am I talking to?
Not him!
Lord Doris started to get frustrated.
And you look at me while I'm talking to you.
Gangster Zach said nothing.
We're not going to shoot you, kid.
Gangster Zach took off his fedora and lifted it into the view of the window, waiting to see if they would shoot at him, waiting to see if they were lying to him. But they didn't. He put his fedora back on and stood up.
Yes?
He spoke.
Where is McDavid?
Lord Doris asked calmly.
On his way?
Of course he is.
Lord Doris said.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Silence, young one!
He paused for a moment.
Young one, why don't you want to be here?
We can't survive here. Don't you know that?
That's it, young one. Billions couldn't survive here, but thousands could flourish in a world we could call our own. This could be our world, young one.
A world without my family?
You can find a new family, a better family.
A world without my friends?
By the looks of it, you have already made some new friends.
Gangster Zach looked around at all his quote-unquote new friends. They all looked at him with a dead stare. They didn't say anything. They didn't do anything. They just looked at Gangster Zach. Gangster Zach knew why all these people put their faith in him, why they all trusted him. When they all shared empathy, when they looked for integrity in what seemed like the most hopeless situation, Gangster Zach stepped up. He gave people hope this far, and he wasn't about to give up now.
Valedictory!
The town McDavid went through to get to the control center was so empty. Strip malls surrounding the main street. The glass on the cars and storefronts were shattered. It was abandoned. McDavid was still running. Well, more like jogging. Back in the day, McDavid used to run cross-country. As he was jogging, his mind wandered to a bright and boiling summer evening. This was maybe 10 years ago. McDavid was in last place during his tryouts to make this local cross-country team. Running through the trees so far behind in his race, he couldn't see anyone in front of him. A turn approached. He turned, and as he did, his wife and 2 newborns were holding posters cheering on him. That motivation lit a spark in his soul, and he smiled. McDavid caught up to the rest of them. He ran past 6 people in front of him. He made it into 5th place. 4th. Finish line was up ahead, 100 meters to go, about 328.08 feet. He started sprinting. Each step was like a leap, but he never caught up with them. In the end, he got 3rd place. Out of 11 racers, he was proud of himself. His family was at the finish line. That was a good day. His kids grabbed onto his legs, hugging him as hard as they could. His wife gave him a hug. She said,
I'm so proud of you.
We are!
His kids added. That was a good day. McDavid's mind snapped back to reality. He was about a mile away from the control center. The control center sat on top of a hill, and as McDavid made his way up that hill, the top of the control center revealed itself. As he continued to look over the horizon of the hill, and the bottom of the control center was displayed, he saw what seemed like hundreds of thousands of people surrounding it. The control center was lifted off the ground, being held up by 6 enormous pillars. The C4 Abby put there was blinking, but still no one seemed to notice, not even McDavid. Once McDavid ducked back down onto the sloped grass, he found Andy and Faye standing right behind him, leaning over his ducked body. Their shadows were casting McDavid into darkness.
We don't want to hurt you.
Faye said, holding her arms out.
We want to help you.
Andy said.
So please, don't hurt us.
Faye added.
Why would you want to help me?
Honestly, because you seem to be the only one who wasn't batshit crazy.
Faye responded. McDavid thought to himself for a moment. He didn't really trust the girls. After all, they helped get Aiden killed, and the kid from the convenience store, and they almost got McDavid himself killed. They had a gun pointed right at him and everything. But McDavid did have a problem. He needed to get to the control center, which meant he had to get through lower doors. And the only solution McDavid could find to his problem were the 2 standing right in front of him. McDavid smiled and peeked over the hill.
Well, your Doris friend has an army surrounded where we need to get this.
He pulled out the amplifier and looked back to the 2 of them.
So, what's your plan?
Faye and Annie looked at each other. Faye took her backpack off and pulled out a pair of handcuffs. McDavid scoffed. McDavid was now being led to Lord Doris himself. With his hands cuffed and Faye and Annie on either side of him, holding his arms in a firm and stiff way. They both had rifles, but Faye had an extra one conceived behind her shirt for later. McDavid could now make it through Lord Doris's army with Annie and Faye, saying,
Excuse me.
And
on your left?
As they were making their way to Lord Doris himself, standing in the back of his pickup. Faye and Annie presented McDavid to Doris, who stood in his truck 20 feet away from the stairs that led into the control center.
Doris,
McDavid said, still with Annie and Faye next to him, gripping him on the arm. Lord Doris studied Annie and Faye.
Abby is dead.
Lord Doris didn't know if he grieved or cheered.
Still, She accomplished her mission. Sort of.
I think you are going to regret that.
Will I?
Lord Doris squinted.
Look around, Mick Ignorant. You lost. Where do you think you are going to go?
Lord Doris looked at McDavid for an answer, but he just stood there.
This planet was dying. I offered a solution. Staying. It's as simple as that.
And how many people wanted to do that?
McDavid grinned. Doris chuckled.
You think you're clever. They were blinded by their fear. I saved them. I saved all of you.
You killed all of us. You trapped us on this rock.
McDavid snapped back. Annie and Faye had to tug him back from trying to jet towards Lord Doris.
You should be grateful of my generosity. You know, the hardest choices require the strongest mind, David. I choose to act instead of watching countless people make the same mistake over and over again. I mean, just look at our own history filled with these repeating philosophies that we never utterly understand until it's too late. At what point will we stop and think?
Lord Doris lifted a piece of paper up next to his head. McDavid couldn't make out what it was, but somehow deep down he knew. He could see it in his eyes. It was the letter McDavid's wife, Karen, had left him after the ship took off. Lord Doris looked at the paper, then back at McDavid.
Your family left you.
They left you. Over 22 centuries, and time still seems to be our biggest enemy. Spending so little on so much just so everybody else can do the same.
Lord Doris brought his hand down, crinkling the letter on his handbar.
But now, with less people, you can spend more time with a newer, smarter, better family. A family that won't leave you.
He lifted the paper back up next to his face just to bring it back down again.
Family that won't abandon you for a fresh start. I mean, my God, you say I killed you, I saved you. It's about damn time for you to finally open your eyes and be grateful, McDavid. The hardest choices require the strongest mind.
McDavid smiled, like he was waiting for this part in the conversation to happen.
Well then, I think you'll find that our determination is equal to yours.
Ours?
Annie and Faye let go of McDavid, swung their guns around, and immediately started unloading rounds into the crowd, catching everyone by surprise. Lord Doris ducked below the head of the truck. He looked down and saw the piece of paper he was holding earlier. He picked it up. McDavid, Faye, and Annie retreated, walking backwards, with their backs to the stairs that would take them up to the control center, still spraying bullets into Lord Doris's army. McDavid reached the stairs first and immediately hopped over the concrete railing onto the stairs and ducked down. Annie and Faye backed up into the stairs' concrete railing at the same time. Annie ran out of ammo first. She threw the gun behind her and hopped on the railing. She reloaded her gun and covered as Faye did the same. Annie and Faye stayed in cover on the stairs and continuously kept raining fire as often as they could, using the concrete railing as cover when they needed to reload. McDavid continued going up the stairs. Lord Doris's army finally started shooting back. Their bullets were sculpting the concrete stairs and railings the girls were using for cover. Lord Doris, seeing the turn in tides, fiercely jumped off his truck and slammed onto the floor. He navigated his way around his violent army and onto those stairs. As Lord Doris was going up, he approached the corner where Annie and Faye were. He leaned against the wall and peeked around the edge, inspecting Annie and Faye as they were alternating from reloading to raining hell on Lord Doris's army. Lord Doris discovered the pattern instantly and struck right as Faye began to alternate from shooting to reloading. Faye tried to kneel and reload, but was stopped by Lord Doris, grabbing her and tossing her headfirst over the railing and into the army. The stream of bullets followed Faye as she fell. Faye's back cracked on people's heads, making them fall onto the ground simultaneously. People from all over started shooting into that one area and climbing over each other if they had to, not caring if they become uncomfortable or even shot their own fellow armymen. Annie turned her rifle towards Lord Doris, but Doris hastily snatched it out of her hands. He waved it around and swung it right into Annie's jaw, knocking her out as she leaned over the railing. Lord Doris grabbed her by the legs and tossed her over as well, just like Faye. In just a few blinks of an eye, they both lay above and around dead armymen, who met the same fates as them. Annie and Faye couldn't even be identified because of how much metal was lodged into their body as they lie expired and lifeless. McDavid, in the control center, sprinted through a hallway where he found Gangster Zach at the end of with everyone else. The sharp cracks of the bullets piercing into human flesh was still ongoing outside.
What are you guys doing in here?
McDavid asked.
Waiting for you to fix the stupid radio!
Gangster Zach shouted back.
I don't got time. I have to go back to help those 2 girls. Here!
McDavid tossed the amplifier to Gangster Zach.
There's an input jack behind the monitor.
Gangster Zach looked puzzled.
Like when you plug your headphones into your phone.
Oh! So I can just Bluetooth this?
Wired headphones, man! You do that. The rest of you, follow me.
McDavid turned around to see Lord Doris standing at the end of the hallway, with his arms to his side, fists halfway clenched, furrowed brow, and flared nostrils. There was a piece of paper in his back pocket. His gun was behind him, hidden from the side of McDavid.
You guys take the back way out of here.
McDavid said to the group behind him as he kept his eyes on Lord Doris. Lord Doris looked over at McDavid's shoulder.
Young one, are you going to let me have that, Damahickey?
Why can't you just let us leave?
You know, I can't do that.
Lord Doris grinned. Concurrently, Road Warrior Reed, Logan, and Abby made their way outside the control center, a long mile away from the war currently taking place in that area. Logan stayed in the truck, staying quiet to survive, especially with Abby being so unhinged. Abby and Reed looked upon the death, the bodies, the executions. Reed took his hat off and placed it on his heart. Abby went back into the truck, dug through her backpack, and pulled out the detonator. It was the detonator that would set off the C4 on each pillar, the detonator that would destroy the control center. Back in the control center, McDavid and Lord Doris were still in a standoff. Just looking, no guns, not yet. Lord Doris, from McDavid's point of view, slid to the left. McDavid quickly slid to the right and spun so his back was to the wall. They were at a diagonal, each barely peeking out just to jolt back into cover, when the others started hammering automatic weapon fire in their direction. Meanwhile, Abby, outside the control center, standing outside of Road Warrior Reed's truck, gripped the detonator tightly in her hand. She stared into the battlefield, studying it. Her jaw trembled as she searched for Lord Doris in the crowd of people. Back in the hallway, McDavid and Lord Doris both peeped their heads out at the same time, waiting for the other to shoot, but they didn't. They both urgently jumped up and started running at each other, holding their guns like swords. As they met in the middle of the hallway, McDavid jumped up and swung his sword in the air like a hammer. Clank! Lord Doris blocked it with his gun, but dropped his gun in the process, resulting in an uppercut swing to the chin from McDavid. Lord Doris stumbled backwards, but shook it off right before McDavid would swing again. Smack! Lord Doris caught the gun, yanked it out from McDavid's hand, and threw it aside. McDavid's shocked expression stayed long enough for Lord Doris to land a solid punch right into his face, wiping that shocked expression right off it. Now McDavid stumbled backwards. Gangster Zach plugged in the amplifier and played with the computer, doing what he needed to do to get it turned on and working. The second the computer was up and running, Gangster Zach sent a distress call to Anastasia. Road Warrior Reed looked over at Abby as she fidgeted with the detonator outside the control center.
What are you thinking?
Every single one of them have betrayed me. She squinted, trying not to show any other emotion. Fuck them all. Abby squeezed the detonator. C4 eruptions sequenced one after the other. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bam! Inside the building, it looked like gravity was turned off. The floor sank and the ceilings tumbled. Lord Doris and McDavid jumped towards each other as they floated in the air. It felt like they were in slow motion as Lord Doris grabbed McDavid's leg, swung him around, and threw him into the wall. As McDavid crashed into the wall, the ceiling flattened him onto the ground. Gangster Zach never got a response. When you can't hear, when you lose your strongest senses, you fear your strongest falter. The smell of smoke, the taste of dust mixed with the blood of a missing tooth, sporadically broken walls of concrete mixed with the metal rods pointing near you. Lord Doris had plenty of room, like he was surrounded by a giant turtle shell of debris. Despite the missing tooth, he was fine. He patted the ground for it, but couldn't find it. The claustrophobia of the situation made it extremely hot. Sweat stained Lord Doris's royal outfit. Sandwiched in the middle of the rubble, in the freedom of the outside, thousands of Lord Doris's men were crushed by the building's debris. Many of the people following McDavid didn't make it either. Meanwhile, McDavid was cramped like a sardine. A metal rod went through his thigh, and blood soaked the floor. He could barely move his upper body. His legs were pinned to the ground, his lungs were filled with dust, and his chest stung like he just did a belly flop into a pool. To the right of McDavid, there was this small tunnel, small enough to stick your arm through, but not much else. The tunnel led to where Lord Doris was trapped. McDavid let out a scream of pain. The stickiness of the floor made McDavid feel like he was suffocating in thick tar. He stretched his fingers to feel the blood gushing out of his leg, and the metal rod going through it.
Yo, who the hell out there?
Lord Doris burst out with a shaky voice.
It's me, idiot!
McDavid shouted. Lord Doris immediately knew who it was.
Help! Help!
McDavid sighed.
What?
Can I borrow a piece of your cape?
I'm sorry.
McDavid let out a shorter scream of pain.
Please, I have a rod stuck in my leg, and it's bleeding.
Why would I help you?
McDavid wallowed in his sadness for a moment.
You won.
Those words were the hardest he had ever had to say.
We are stuck here, and Anastasia is long gone by now.
I won. I won! See, isn't it a giant weight taken off your shoulders?
There's more weight put on them. Can I have the cloth or not?
Fine.
Lord Doris tore a piece off and stuck it through the tunnel. As he did, he found the piece of paper he was holding earlier.
Big baby.
McDavid reached his hand in the tunnel, grabbed it, and put the cloth around the rod in his leg.
Thank you.
Lord Doris looked down at the paper. He reread it for what might have been the 13th time.
Why do you want to leave?
Seriously?
Lord Doris looked back down at the paper.
I mean...
He kept rereading the paper.
I guess what I'm trying to ask is why do you want to go back to them?
McDavid started to get worried.
Who?
He asked. Lord Doris looked up from the paper and into the tunnel.
Your family.
McDavid put his hand over his mouth, trying not to go off on and yell at Doris. McDavid paced his breathing before asking,
Why do you have that?
Because I didn't make you stay here, McDavid. They did. And I just can't see why. Why would you want to go back to the woman? No. I'm sorry, it says your whole family wanted to leave you behind.
He started to laugh.
My whole family?
McDavid asked. Lord Doris' eyes widened.
Well, I'll be damned. You didn't read it all.
Lord Doris let out another laugh. McDavid didn't say a word. Lord Doris just kept laughing. The laughs echoed in McDavid's mind. His whole family, all of them, McCarran, Zoe, Savannah, all of them decided it was a good idea to leave him behind. To make a decision so drastic that they would never see her husband and their father again. All because he, spent a lot of time on his job? So there could be food to eat and a home to rest in. All because he lost his temper, he lost his cool. He never was cool, not to them. To them, he was a joke. Someone to laugh at, but never with. No. Because that would be too much to fucking ask for, wouldn't it? God forbid they have a heart-to-heart and honest-to-God conversation and something that doesn't start or end with a disrespectful joke about the only man in their family. No, instead, they just left, and all they had to say could be written on scratch paper. This whole time, McDavid thought he was doing all this to get back to his family, to apologize. No, they don't deserve an apology. They deserve nothing.
You were right.
McDavid spoke into the tunnel.
I don't need them. They left me. You were right. I can make a new family here.
McDavid could hear footsteps above. The dust from the ceiling of the rubble fell, and he could feel it glaze onto his face.
Hey!
He screamed. Lord Doris heard the slight thumps as well. He figured out what was happening and joined McDavid. They screamed together. That was really good. Gangster Zach and some others were on top of the rubble. Inaudible muffles could be heard from below them. One of them asked.
Yeah.
Gangster Zach hopped down and put his ear to the ground. The inaudible muffles turned into distant helps.
Yeah, that's them.
Gangster Zach got up.
Here, help me lift this. The rest of you, pick up whatever you can. We have to rescue as many of our people as we can.
They all just stood around.
Come on, let's go!
McDavid heard mumbling and more thumping from above. A smile spread on McDavid's face. Lord Doris and McDavid kept yelling as the mumbling and thumps from people walking increased. The dust started pouring on McDavid as little rays of light started to warm his skin.
Zach!
McDavid cried as more of the open world was revealed.
Ready? 3, 2,
1.
Gangster Zach and another unnamed person lifted the last big piece of rubble that was on top of McDavid.
It's Gangster Zach, my man.
McDavid started to laugh, but the laugh quickly turned into a cough.
Here,
Gangster Zach gave him a piece of wood.
bite down on this.
McDavid grabbed the piece of wood.
Don't count down. Just pull it out.
McDavid put the piece of wood into his mouth and bit down on it. Gangster Zach yanked the rod out of his leg. Blood started to shoot out of the hole in his leg, like water from a water fountain. Once the rod was out, Gangster Zach pulled bandages from his backpack and bandaged up McDavid's leg. His calf was that of a mummy's. Gangster Zach reached towards the top of the rubble.
Here, take this.
Gangster Zach grabbed a rifle from around the edge of the rubble. Zach gave McDavid a long rifle to use as a cane. McDavid slowly got up with the help of Gangster Zach. McDavid put all his body weight onto the long rifle cane. Gangster Zach still tried to help McDavid to stay up.
I got it. I'm okay.
Gangster Zach slowly let go of McDavid. McDavid started to wobble but quickly maintained control. When he looked up, the first thing he saw was a 10-foot wall of debris where the tunnel that he used to communicate to Lord Doris had been. He looked around to see 8 other people standing with Zach. Lord Doris, with his eyes looking through the tiny tunnel, saw the whole thing.
Is this it?
Gangster Zach hesitated to say yes. Lord Doris knew McDavid escaped and was alive. Lord Doris got saved by his goons, much like how McDavid did with Gangster Zach. Lord Doris wasn't hurt. His soldiers knew not to aid him. He looked at the 10-foot wall of debris. Lord Doris started to walk backwards.
You need to get back. Go into the field, hold your ground. Shoot anything that moves in this stupid pile of rock.
Lord Doris and his men went into the open field, not knowing Logan, Abby, and Reed were out there. Lord Doris had about 20 army members left on his side, all standing in an open field and guns at the ready, pointed at the rubble. It was 20 against 10. Luckily for McDavid's group, they had the building as cover and the guns hidden in the rubble. Gangster Zach and his people knew Lord Doris's army was out there, and they knew what they had to do to them. They went around the wall, slowly, staying low the entire time and picking up half-loaded guns from corpses in the rubble. They set their sights, carefully staying hidden. Once they were locked on, bang! It wasn't even fair. Lord Doris's goons got 3 of Gangster Zach's 10, but they never stood a chance. It was like an execution in an open field. Lord Doris's army dropped like flies, leaving just Lord Doris all alone in an open field. Abby, Reed, and Logan were a mile behind him. Gangster Zach and McDavid were a foot in front of him. Abby had a pistol in hand, walking towards Lord Doris from behind. She might have been one dramatic scene away. Lord Doris was unarmed. McDavid and Gangster Zach both came out of cover with a gun pointed at Lord Doris's head. Abby was a couple yards behind Lord Doris with her pistol pointed at his skull. Lord Doris chuckled, then screamed. He looked around him, but not behind him.
No, you lied.
He looked at McDavid.
Didn't you?
McDavid didn't say or do anything.
You can't make me leave.
He said furiously, tears dripping down his face. We won't have to, Abby said right behind him. Lord Doris's eyes widened.
Wait, no.
He started running to McDavid, but a bullet flew through his chest before he could get going. He dropped to his knees.
He wouldn't lie.
I still win.
A smile grew on his face as he drifted into the beyond and flopped to the ground. Abby shot him again, this time in the head. Abby pointed her gun at McDavid, and McDavid and Gangster Zach pointed theirs at Abby. Abby put her finger on the trigger. They didn't talk, just looked at each other. Bang, bang, bang! 3 bullets went off, and all 3 of their guns flew out of their hands. When Abby's gun flew out, the snap of her finger breaking could be heard by McDavid and Gangster Zach. She knelt to the ground and clenched her hand. They all looked to where they heard the gunshot come from. Road Warrior Reed was about a mile away with his sniper rifle on the hood of his truck. He had shot all 3 of their guns out of their hands in the blink of an eye. Abby's radio went off.
The deal with Doris. Just Doris.
Reed said through the radio. I got beef with this one too. She pointed to McDavid.
Not today, you don't.
Reed picked his sniper up, threw it in the back of his truck, got in and drove up to the 3 of them.
You got beef? With me?
You...
I don't know why, I just never heard a lady say beef before.
Reed honked his horn as he drove up next to McDavid.
That's sexist,
he said with his face poked out the window. I'm sure you haven't heard a lady say a lot of things.
Damn, dude, she got you!
Gangster Zach interrupted. Reed hopped out of his truck, but Logan stayed in the passenger seat, and Reed's window was still down. Reed looked at the rubble behind McDavid and Gangster Zach.
So, what's the plan now?
The wind started to pick up.
What's the plan?
McDavid repeated sarcastically.
Your friend here...
He pointed to Abby.
Destroyed our plan. I assume you are the one who blew this up, because I know it wasn't Doris. I was with him when it blew up.
Oh, yeah, no, that was me, but hey, none of this would have happened if a certain group of people didn't want to leave. It's called looking through a different perspective, but I guess my father was the only one who could do that.
Your father. We have the same father you just killed.
Road Warrior Reed said. They all went silent for a moment, then immediately started to shout at each other, drowning out the sounds of the engine's hum coming from the sky. Logan looked up, his eyes widened.
Hey, Reed?
Logan asked Reed through his window, staying stiff in the driver's seat.
What the fuck is that?
He pointed to a giant robot sea turtle in the sky. It had engines coming out of the turtle's flippers, and the head was tilted down at them, big glowing white lights as eyes were looking down at them. Logan, finally, slowly got out of the truck, keeping his eyes on the giant sea turtle. The wind kicked up even more, knocking the dust from the fallen building into the air. It was like a sandstorm. The beams of lights were piercing through the fog-like atmosphere.
That's not Anastasia 4.0.
McDavid yelled, covering his eyes with his arms.
It was like a turtle!
Logan yelled. Reed ran back to his truck as the boom of the ship landing kicked up even more smoke, dirt, and dust. Reed rambunctiously looked around for his rifle. He grabbed it and reloaded it as he shut the door and started walking towards McDavid. As the ship landed, the mouth of the turtle opened. Even more light radiated out of its mouth. There was a giant turtle tongue that acted as an ever-extending staircase. Traveling down this staircase was some type of humanoid creature that was only distinguishable by the shape of its shadow. This staircase extended down right in front of where Abby was standing, and the humanoid stepped onto the grass in front of her. The humanoid was a human. It was an old male with white hair and a short trimmed white beard. The man was balding with just a little hair in the back. Once he made it to the ground, McDavid asked,
"And who the crap are you?"
Reed had his sniper pointed at the man. Abby was clenching her finger. Gangster Zach and McDavid had their arms up to block the dust and blinding light from their eyes.
Me?
The man said with a pleasant smile. He chuckled.
Well, I'm Barry White, the Sea Turtle King.
McDavid tossed the amplifier to Gangster Zach.
There's an input, Zach. Sorry, input Jack. Okay, hold on. That's so different. I didn't see that one.
It's the funniest joke A's ever heard.
Let me get some water.
Oh my god.
Okay. There's an input, Zach.
No, you go first.
They also said at the same time. Annie said,
You know what? I think we were going to say the same thing anyway, so just blurt out what you're going to say on 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, Josh, I'm gonna need you for this one.
Alright, ready?
1? Yeah, ready. I'll say 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do it, okay?
Alright.
Wait, what? Wait. Do you want Faye or Annie?
I was just gonna do a high-pitched voice. So.
Okay, so I'll do the lower then.
Alright.
1, 2, 3.
Lord Doors kidnapped all these kids.
Okay. Alright, this isn't gonna work.
Alright, we'll do it one.
About the author. Joshua Mancini is a senior at Blue Springs High School and started writing his first book his junior year. During his time in high school,
He marched in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade with his high school's marching band. Now Josh is continuing to write more stories for readers like you to, read.
That's alright, baby!